JMU hangs on versus the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. Locked on Sunbelt.
You are Locked on Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked on Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. All right, apologies for not getting this done last night. We're doing it first thing this morning, and it was quite a matchup. In addition to JMU and the Cajuns, we'll do the rest of the Sunbelt. Some big-time ball games in there. Southern Miss had a triple-double. Arkansas State and A-State rolled, and we'll do the Sunbelt. Also, more Ragin Cajuns quarterback news. Chandler Fields returning to play for UL. All right, so last night, couple things on the line between James Madison and the Cajuns. James Madison undefeated. They're 13-0 coming into the ball game. Excuse me. And the Cajuns, 19-game home winning streak. They have not lost, I believe, since February 22nd, 2022. They went undefeated at home last year for the first time in school history. All right. This game was an ugly basketball game. All right. I should have, let me see. I should have it in my, let's see here. It was 23-22 to begin at half. And that was the high mark. The Cajuns missed out on a huge opportunity to take control in the first half. James Madison had more turnovers, 10, than field goals, 7. At one point in time, James Madison was 1 for 11. The Cajuns, on the other hand, continually went through droughts. Hosanna Contingy left the ball game picking up his second foul. They didn't score again at the end of the first half. 3 minutes and 50 seconds. All right. Themus Folk struggled 0 for 7. 6 of those are layups. He heaved a three-pointer as the shot clock was winding down. Joe Charles, who I mentioned, is averaging like a triple-double. Almost, or a double-double, rather. Sorry, a double-double. Didn't have any points. Although he grabbed 8 rebounds and grabbed a game-high 15 rebounds. It was no better over on JMU side. Terrence Edwards, 1 for 5. TJ Biggerstaff, 2 for 6. Wooden, 0 for 6. This was an ugly, ugly basketball game. And one that the Cajuns really should have been up by double digits. They had a 12-4 lead early, but they really should have been up by double digits because JMU could not throw it in the ocean. And then JMU hit a few shots at the end. Cajuns still led it by 1 going into the break. Cajuns, I think, hit a couple shots to begin with, to begin the second half, but then JMU hit like 4 straight, and the Cajuns hit a 3 and called timeout. 16-12 left to go in the game. Marlin called the timeout right before the TV timeout. This comes up, okay? And then it kind of felt like it was James Madison was going to pull away. That's James Madison's 19th ranked team in the nation. Cajuns are okay, but have not been as good as they have been in the past, regardless of their 19-game home winning streak. And it just kept on going back and forth. All of a sudden, the Cajuns come back out and hit some threes. They take a 5-point lead. It was 40-35, and James Madison started to pull away. It's 40-40, and Contingy is fouled. We're going to a timeout with exactly 12 minutes left to go. It ended up being a 54-44 lead. James Madison went on a 14-0 run and a 19-4 run, and the Cajuns refused to call timeout. Bob Marlin was asked about it following the game, and he said that had nothing to do with it. I was going to call timeout at the 8:15 mark, but I didn't bother at that point in time. The problem with that is that the game got away from him at that point. That's when the game was getting away from him, right? Already at 40-40, it's a 5-point run. Why not call it at 46-40? You let it, you just didn't call timeout. Excuse me. They did not call timeout. So they're down 54-40. And I guess Kobe Julian hit a free throw. I guess maybe he was fouled right before the 8-minute timeout. And that's when the Cajuns started to roll. They go on a big run, and they pull within one. It's 56-55. 56-55, and it's the 4-minute TV timeout. In fact, somewhere in there, Mark Byington called the timeout, to be honest with you, during the Cajuns run. Didn't matter. Cajuns, they get it down to 1, and they tried to find contingency underneath, and they couldn't do it. They could not find contingency underneath. That was the whole play. JMU did a good job of fronting him, and that was basically the ball game. Friedel hits a corner 3 that put the game away. All right, so JMU hangs on for a 68-61 victory, right? And everyone's going to give JMU their best shot because JMU is the undefeated team and 19th ranked. Cajuns have the 19-game home winning streak. So apparently, one of the JMU players started yapping during the handshake line, not one of the players that was playing. So then a little bit of a scrum very little bit of a scrum, actually, after the ball game, where there was a lot of yapping, a little bit of pushing. The best video, and I saw it happen live, and you can see the video. It's actually, I think it's game tape. It's from the broadcast. I think Friedel puts his own teammate Horton in a headlock. Horton is coming around the corner, and you can see one of the coaches reacting like, I got to get this guy, and Friedel puts his own guy in a headlock. Like, don't go anywhere, all right? We need you. Do not get back into this. And again, nothing really happened. Someone was talking, again, who didn't play. People I spoke to after the game said the one in the sweatshirt said something afterwards in the line, and then it spilled over from there. And again, nothing really happened. But, you know, it was a tightly contested game, one that the Cajuns could have won. I don't think should have won. The problem with the Cajuns was they did not shoot free throws well. Was the problem with the Cajuns. I think they were 10 of 17 from the free throw line, 10 of 18 from the free throw line. You know, make a few more of those. And not all of them, but at one point in time, they're like 8 of 16. I mean, you're not going to beat the number 19 team in the country shooting 50%. I will say JMU hit free throws down the stretch, but they also didn't hit their free throws. 15 of 24. All right. I will say I am not the referees cost the team. I don't think you can't go numerous minutes without scoring. Seemed to be a phantom foul on Michael Thomas. And then there seemed to be a phantom travel on Kobe Julian. But you can't go numerous minutes without scoring and expect to win. And that's what the Cajuns did. The Cajuns could have won that basketball game. All right. JMU did a good job, right? Surviving awful shooting in the first half. One cold stretch in the second half. And they made some plays. The Cajuns twice had a chance to either take the lead or tie and couldn't do it. And they kept on looking for the same play. For some reason, they couldn't rotate the ball and continue the ball down low instead of on the left block. Let's rotate it and get it on the right block. They didn't bother doing that. All right. So it was a heck of a ball game. They say it was a good crowd, like 2,300. I guess standards have been lowered. To me, that's a disappointing crowd. I'm sorry. You got the number 19 team in the country coming in. It's your conference home opener. I'm disappointed in that. If I am the administration, I'm looking on why that was the case. What can they do more to get people to come in? They were going to give away the banners for the championship, but for the Sun Belt Championship from last year, but it didn't arrive. They didn't arrive in time, but I'm not sure anybody is coming to the game just to get that. It's a nice little added value, as they say, but to me, that's a disappointing crowd. All right. I don't think asking 3,500 to 4,000 to show up, that's what McNeese had for the Cajuns, and the Cajuns fans couldn't do that. All right. I don't know if it would have made a difference. They certainly, Bob was like, hopefully that same crowd will be here on Saturday night for the next game. But to me, that was disappointing. I don't think there were 1,000. I don't think there were 1,000 people in there when the game tipped off at 7 o'clock. Maybe they, filed in afterwards. It looked like a bigger crowd by the time the second half got going, but I was disappointed. I was disappointed in the crowd. To me, that's a disappointing number. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll recap the rest of the Sun Belt. There was some exciting action, and then more. Seems we do this a lot lately. Cajuns quarterback news. Let me tell you a little bit about FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I don't think my picks were so good last night. I would have had the Cajuns, would have taken Georgia Southern. I think I had Southern Miss. We'll go over them right now. All right, so JMU hangs on to defeat the Cajuns 68-61. Let's see what else happened in the Sun Belt. I thought in the battle of former Alabama assistant coaches that Georgia Southern, coming off their first win, I don't think I thought they would win, but I thought they would compete. It was like a 9.5-point line. Arkansas State blew them out from the get-go. A 59-point first half. 59-40 at halftime. A 109-83 Red Wolves victory, their 5th of the year. Georgia Southern drops to 1-13. Thing about this game is that is a little bit shocking. Arkansas State, for the first time in school history, put up 100 points against a Sun Belt foe in regulation. That is nuts. Dominguez had 26 for Arkansas State. Todd off the bench had 20. They had 5 in double figures. Banks had 15 for Georgia Southern, and Moore and Bradford each had 11. But this was not a game for very long, played in Jonesboro. All right, you had that A-State played well. App State went into Mobile and actually survived. I think App State was winning this game most of the way. Every time I saw it, I didn't even realize they went to overtime. App State beat South Alabama 91-84 in overtime. They outscored the Jags 9-2 in OT. But every time they had highlights on the websites, it just felt like App had like a 7 to 10 point lead, and they couldn't put South Alabama away. But they do in overtime. They get their 11th win. South Alabama drops to 8-6. Spillers had 23 for the Mountaineers. Isaiah Gator, 29 for South Alabama. Turbo Jones, 19 for the Jaguars. Let me see how this game actually played out, because, again, we're watching the other one. It just felt like, it's like App State's leading with 14 minutes to go, 60-51. Then it got close, I guess, at the 8-minute mark. Jags made a run, and now it is a close ball game. Jags actually took the lead. App State was up by 3. Yeah, this was pretty close down the stretch. So at one point in time, it was, when I say 60-51, and then it got to, did they ever tie it up? 68-68. So that's a big-time run in about 6 minutes by South Alabama, a lot like what they did against Old Dominion on the road, down by 22. Well, this was only down by 9. All right, let's see what else happened. So App State with a big win on the road. South Alabama pushes that to OT, but can't quite pull it out. Speaking of Old Dominion, they go on the road. They lose to Troy. Troy is 2-0 in the Sun Belt. They have a big first half, putting up 55 points. They take down Old Dominion 86-73. Caesar for Old Dominion had 23 points, and Williams had 22. They actually put up some points, but a little bit more spread out for Troy. let's see here. Connerway actually off the bench. He scores 15, and he had Fields and Rigby scoring 13 each for the Trojans. Monarchs 0-2 in the Sun Belt. Southern Miss beats Georgia State 79-73. The big story in this ball game is that Andre Cubelo had a triple-double. He scored 13 points, 11 assists, 10 rebounds. The bad news for Cubelo is that it was on 5 of 21 shooting. So, but that gets the job done. Austin Crowley, 25 points, leading the way for Southern Miss. Georgia State actually had 4 starters in double figures. Lane leading the way with 15, but just could not make up the 9-point deficit at half. Southern Miss wins 79-73. And then you have Coastal Carolina going on the road. How about that? Coastal Carolina goes on the road and beats Texas State 71-63. Yeah. Coastal's 1-1, Texas State 0-2. So I didn't pick the Arkansas State game right. I probably didn't pick the Texas State Coastal Carolina game right. I probably had Southern Miss correct. Probably had Troy correct. Didn't have JMU correct. And I'd have to go back and look what I did with App State and South Alabama. I may have picked App State in that one. So is that, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I may have gone 3-3, so not nearly as bad as I thought. All right, that was the action on Thursday in the Sun Belt. Let's come back and talk about the Cajuns QB room. It did get a little bit of depth. We will do that next after I tell you about Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With Zone Deals, you pick the section and Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. You'll find tickets in the same section and row for far less. For less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON, locked on, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, so a couple of days ago, Zion Chris commits to Houston. He'll have competition there, Donovan Smith. But the big news on Thursday is that Chandler Fields is returning to the Cajuns. So the idea going into this season is probably going to be Ben Woldridge as your starting quarterback. He's returning. No announcement was made, but he did not go through senior day activities. Chandler Fields did. So Ben is expected back. Chandler is going to probably back him up. But if you've been paying attention for the last 2 years, good chance that Chandler's going to find his way on the field. The Cajuns have used 3 quarterbacks in each of the last 2 years due to injury. Right? And Ben hasn't been able to stay healthy in either year. Chandler was a starter in 2022. He got injured. Ben came in. Then Ben got hurt. He got rolled up. I thought he got hurt in the Troy game on his shoulder, but he didn't. He got rolled up in practice, and that took his knee out. So Chandler comes back in. This year, he hurts his foot early on against ODU. And then Zion comes in. Zion breaks his leg, and Chandler comes in. So based on history, Chandler's got a good shot at playing some. At the same time, maybe, I have no idea, right, that maybe Chandler is taking a little bit advantage of the system, right? He just graduated. Got a personal life here, and he can take advantage of, maybe gets a little bit of money. I don't think he's getting 6 figures or anything like that, But if someone could give him $10,000, $25,000, that's a little bit of cash, right? It's a lot more than zero. And now he can start on a master's degree. He's taking full advantage because I mean, Chandler Fields is 5'11". All right. He's a nice little college quarterback. I don't think he's got much of a pro career in front of him. But now he can bank some money, all right, a little bit, and either buy a car with that or put it all away, right? I would tell him $25,000, put a little bit aside for taxes, and that's your little seed money, right? It's very little nest egg, but see what that nest egg is in 30 years type of deal, right? Maybe even in 10, it's a down payment on a house. So, and then he can, advance to get a master's degree. I don't know how long that takes, and I don't know. You go through senior days. I don't know if he's already graduated. I think he has, right? And so he can start now on his master's degree, maybe finish up after the football season. I don't know how that works. Sometimes those extra degrees are not on your time. They're on their time. It's set up certain ways. I could be wrong. But I think that's what a lot of kids can do now that are not necessarily 4- and 5-star recruits, that you can get a little bit, not necessarily pro prospects. And if the coaches are being honest, I know this doesn't happen with everybody, right? I mean, we just saw something was on the internet the other day. Hunter Renfrow was a walk-on at Clemson, right? And he's not a pro prospect coming into college. He's a pro receiver. And so you never do know. But I think if the coaches are honest with their players, look, you could take advantage of what we're offering, right? And the more that these NIL collectives get going, right? Yes, the bigger players and more important players and the, big-time quarterbacks and the big-time defensive ends, they'll get some cash. And we're seeing some of that play out over at Ole Miss, right? Quinshon Judkins watching all those transfers getting cash, and he didn't get any, so he's leaving. But if some of these, I won't say lesser players, that's not right, but not pro prospects play it right, they can get a little bit of money and get that degree. Sometimes you can get two extra degrees, depending on, if you did redshirt in there, right? The COVID year, we're still got to go through that for a little bit longer, getting that extra year, which I think is what Chandler's using. But you can really take advantage of the system and have it work for you, right? Take advantage of being that student athlete and have someone pay for your master's degree, make some business connections here in town, and all of a sudden you got a job rolling right out. You're out, finish up that bowl game next December, January 2nd, you start a new job. There could be worse things in life. So it does help the Cajuns. A quarterback room with Ben Wooldridge. Daniel Beal is a highly recruited kid out of Baton Rouge. Went to Catholic. That's a, power high school here in town. Or not over there, I should say, in town. But quickly, the Cajuns quarterback room consists of, it just doesn't have that many people in it with Zion out. So you do have Ben Wooldridge, Roman Bradley, he's a redshirt sophomore out of Kaplan, and Dwayne Winfield. He was the backup. He's out of Butcher. So he played a little bit. He's a freshman. So it'll be interesting, in 2025, who is the Cajuns quarterback? Will it be Daniel Beal as a redshirt freshman, or will it be Winfield, who will have been here that'll be his third season. All right. I guess we'll be going, because someone asked me if I was going to the Saturday ball games. Quickly, let's roll down the Saturday games in basketball very quickly. South Alabama hosting Georgia State. JMU going to Southern Miss. So could Southern Miss end up losing to Georgia Southern and then beating James Madison? We'll see how that goes. Monroe taking on Georgia Southern. Arkansas State hosting Old Dominion. Troy hosting App State. Texas State hosting Marshall. And Coastal Carolina coming over here to play the Cajuns on a Saturday. None of those games, I didn't see any of those games were on anything but ESPN Plus. Yeah, it's all being streamed. So, all right, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry, this was not posted first thing in the morning. We'll get it done now. And keep those comments coming. I am the one that will reply. Appreciate it all. We're very close to 1,100 subscribers. Please tell all your friends and family who root for Sunbelt teams. Baseball's around the corner. Softball's even sooner. So we will get to all of that. That is for sure. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and you've been watching and listening Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll talk to you again on Monday.